Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we're going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Kenny was in the Karate Kid? So in this timeline, Kenny would be alive in the 80s, and he would still be the new kid at his school. Those events would stay the same. Kenny would still be bullied by some of the students at his school, and some of the students would know karate from one of the dojos in the valley. So much like in the original timeline, Kenny would go visit Sean in juvie. He would still say that he was bullied and that one of them knew karate. Sean would still laugh, and he would still say that he knew someone who could help. So much like in the original timeline, Kenny would still go to the Cobra Kai dojo. Carice would still be surprised to see him, and he would ask him what he wanted. Kenny would say that he was looking for Dutch. He would say that he was Sean Payne's brother, and that his brother knows Dutch from juvie. Dutch would still be surprised by Kenny, so Kenny would still try out for Cobra Kai, and he would still fail, so Kenny would still run out in this timeline. Johnny would see Kenny, and he would remind him of when he first joined Cobra Kai, so Johnny would still track down Kenny, and Kenny would be surprised to see Johnny. Johnny would tell him how Dutch told him all about Sean, and how Sean and Dutch fought, and now Dutch has a lot of respect for Sean. So Johnny would decide to train Kenny in this timeline. So Kenny would still go back to Cobra Kai, and Johnny would convince Carice to give him another chance. And in this timeline, Kenny would succeed, and he would join Cobra Kai, and the events of the Karate Kid would continue. Daniel would still move to the valley, and he would still be invited to the beach party. Daniel would still meet Ali, and those events would stay the same. Johnny would still show up, and the rivalry between Daniel and Johnny would still be formed. The events of the Karate Kid would carry on. Kenny would continue his training at Cobra Kai, and he would use his speed to his advantage. Johnny and Kenny would start to form a bond, similar to the bond Robbie and Kenny had in the original timeline. The Cobra Kais would still be picking on Daniel, and those events would stay the same. Mr. Miyagi would still save him, and he would still fight Johnny and the Cobra Kais. And the next day, Mr. Miyagi and Daniel would still show up at the Cobra Kai dojo, and Mr. Miyagi would still propose a tournament. So Mr. Miyagi would start training Daniel in this timeline. Daniel would start training in Miyagi-Do, and he would start to learn defense. Johnny and the rest of the Cobra Kais would continue their training, and the night of the All Valley, Daniel would still compete, and he would start winning his matches. Kenny would also be competing in this timeline. Kenny and Daniel would fight, but Daniel would defeat him. Kenny would be mad, and Daniel would advance in his matches. Daniel would still be injured, and he would still make it to the finals. So Johnny and Daniel would still fight, but Daniel would still defeat Johnny using the crane kick. Those events would stay the same. Carice would still be mad at Johnny for losing the tournament, and he would still choke him. But much like in the original timeline, Mr. Miyagi would still save Johnny. So Johnny and the rest of the Cobra Kais would decide to quit, but Kenny would decide to stay. Johnny would want to convince Kenny to leave, but Kenny would say he wasn't a quitter. He would say that he was going to be the next All Valley champion, and that LaRusso was going down. Johnny would see how much Cobra Kai had affected Kenny, and he wouldn't like it. And that is where I'm going to end part 1. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Kenny was in the Karate Kid? Let me know in the comments below. YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And I'll see you guys next time.